Even though most of Israel is desert, it has become a world leader in safe farming technology and new ideas. They have come up with innovative farming methods because they have had to. This is why their crops are so good. In a way that is truly amazing, Israel has turned its dry deserts into fields that can be used for many years to come. To understand the problems Israeli farmers face, you need to know about the hard weather in the country. A very small amount of rain falls each year in some places of Israel. Most of the rain falls between November and March. This means that it doesn't rain for the rest of the year, which is a big problem for farmers who need to grow food all year to feed their families and the country. But Israeli scientists and farmers have come up with new ways to make the best use of water, land, and food. These methods not only help the Israeli people, but they could also change the way farming is done all over the world. Researchers in Israel are eager to share their knowledge and technology with farmers in other countries who are having the same problems with the environment. By using these new ideas, countries that have harsh conditions can grow food all year long while saving valuable resources. Israel's ability to turn deserts into farmland is an example of how creative people can be. By using sustainable farming methods, Israel has shown that it is possible to get around the problems that dry environments bring and make sure that future generations will have food. Israel has a big problem with farming because there isn't enough water. Israeli farmers and experts, on the other hand, have come up with creative ways to turn the desert into good farmland. With a population of about 8.5 million people living in a country about the size of New Jersey and a growth rate of about 1.6%, Israel needs to make the most of its food production. But where does a country that is mostly desert get its water? The answer is in the sea outside of Greece. Even though the salt in the ocean hurts most plants grown on land, Israel has found a way to use this water source. With desalination plants, the salt is taken out and clean water is made. This method is not only used in farming, but it is also used to make drinking water. Desalination can be expensive and use a lot of energy, but Israel has done it successfully, making sure they have a nearly endless supply of water. The Israeli desalination plants work by taking salt water from the Mediterranean Sea and sending it to a room for first treatment. In this room, the water goes through different filters to get rid of any sediments or particles that are floating in it. This important step makes sure that the rest of the dehydration process goes smoothly. Any bigger pieces that get through this tank could block the next set of filters, which could mean that the whole system needs to be cleaned out before the desalination process can start up again. The water moves through the filter system with the help of both gravity and jets during the pre-treatment process. Once there are no bigger bits in the water, the salt has to be taken out. The molecules of salt are too small for regular screens to remove because the salt is dissolved in the water. Reverse osmosis is used instead in the dehydration process. Water goes through a semi-permeable membrane with holes that are small enough that only water molecules can pass through. This is called reverse osmosis. The molecule of salt NaCl is bigger than the molecule of water H2O. This means that the water molecule can pass through the tiny holes in the membrane, but the salt molecule gets stuck behind it. But reverse osmosis gets rid of more than just salt. It also sorts any other dissolved substances from the molecules of H2O. This makes a water source that is clean and germ-free. Still, this is not the last step in the process. It's interesting that Israel's purification process works so well that chemicals and minerals have to be added back into the water to make sure it tastes good and doesn't rust. This is done at desalination plants during the third stage, before the water is sent to taps and irrigation systems across the country. Additionally, the desalination process is very efficient and can produce huge amounts of fresh drinking water, but it needs a lot of energy and can be very expensive as a result. Israel is aware that it doesn't have many choices, so it has put a lot of money into purification plants along its coast. New plants are added all the time to make sure that freshwater output keeps up with population growth. But this puts a huge amount of stress on Israel's desalination plants and water delivery systems, since the water also needs to get to farms and companies that work with agriculture. So Israel is very interested in the progress of desalination technology, because they know that waste needs to be kept to a minimum in order to make enough water for farming. Every drop of water in the dry desert is treated with the greatest care, because it is as valuable as gold. Most desalination plants and water cleaning systems have to deal with leaks that let water escape. Every day, thousands of gallons of water can be lost because of even a small crack in a pipe. This much waste is not acceptable for something as important as water, especially for Israel and its farming methods. So, Israel has put a lot of money into infrastructure and monitors that can find cracks early so they can be fixed or patched up right away. Because of these systems and improvements in technology, Israel has an incredibly low rate of water leakage, only 7 to 8% during operation. This is a huge improvement over the average rate of 30% loss for most water systems around the world. Israel is able to keep millions of gallons of water from going to waste every year. Also, almost all of the water that Israelis and farms use is recycled and used for other things, which makes it even more useful and reduces waste. Israel has the best rate of reusing water of any country. More than 80% of the water that is sent to farms and homes is recycled. Water treatment plants remove waste from water by using both natural and man-made filters. A lot of the water used for farming and irrigation comes from these plants. The end result is worth the time it takes to do this process, which can take up to 6 months to fully clean the wastewater. Recycling water is an important part of turning wastes into farmland, because farming would not be possible without clean water sources. Today, we're going to talk about the secret methods and tools that farmers use to grow food in Israel's barren deserts. We are aware that water is very important and that it comes from rain, purification plants, and recycling centers. But how do farmers really turn deserts into good land for farming? A very important part of this process is precise watering. In the same way that water is treated and distributed, Israeli farms try to waste as little water as possible. With precision irrigation, they can water their crops more effectively while using less water. This not only saves money, but also keeps useful tools fresh. Different complex and useful methods are used to complete this task, and drip irrigation is one of them.